President Trump broke the internet yesterday with a surprise announcement about the COVID relief bill. Let me play you some of what he tweeted.
Throughout the summer, Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID relief bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Come again? So we're going to have to separate this out and break it down in parts because there's wildly contradictory messages, at least in terms of how palatable and acceptable that is. So to the final part where he's like, maybe we'll have to leave it up to the next administration. Maybe that administration will be me. I mean, Trump has been doing this since he lost the election, right? Like, he's been pretending like, no, it's not over. Still have a chance. Still could win. There's a lot of fraudulent election, rigged elections. We're not going to let this stand. Now, the Electoral College already certified Biden's win, and they went to court over 50 times and lost every time but one, and the one time they won, it was some procedural nonsense. So it's over. It's done. But him saying that is ominous because, listen, I think he's a clown, and he doesn't have the ability to, like, orchestrate a coup effectively. But certainly the intent is there, and if like the military happened to be on his side and he could pull it off, oh, he would absolutely try it for sure. But it does require like planning, and I don't think he has that ability to plan. He just blurts stuff out on Twitter every now and then, and that's that. So I don't think he has the capacity to do it, but certainly the intent is there. But I think the reason why this like rubs me the wrong way is like how strangely confident he is when he says it, right? Like that's the thing that got me. I'm watching it and I'm like, why are you so nonchalant about this? Why are you so calm in how you said that? Maybe that administration will be me. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing behind the scenes? There's been a lot of talk that he's been in constant contact with Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is the most insane, delusional liar of the whole bunch of this, gaggle of right-wing ghouls. She's the one who's convinced that not only was the election stolen, it was stolen in a globalist plot where you had like Maduro and Cuba all in cahoots with the voting machines to give the election to Biden because they love Biden and they want to work with Biden, which is just beyond ridiculous. I mean, if you don't understand that Biden's hostile to Venezuela and to communist regimes, you don't know anything about Joe Biden. So, but that's who he's listening to the most. And, Mike Flynn famously said very recently that, well, technically Trump can declare martial law and seize some of the voting machines and then redo the election. And yeah, he's probably listening to cranks like that. And So I don't know. Again, Trump is an enigma. I think that's the right word, because sometimes I feel like I have a good sense of his intentions and other times I don't. Sometimes I feel like he's openly, brazenly, shamelessly lying and he knows he's lying. And other times I think, no, he's pathological and he's convinced himself that what he's saying is true. But either way, that ending is really, really unsettling. Really unsettling. So that was gross. Ken Klippenstein also said something interesting before this happened. He was like, imagine if Trump was smart enough to tie a coup attempt to increase stimulus. So Trump's making it seem like everybody else is in favor of $600. I'm in favor of $2,000. So I'm going to get you the $2,000, but I guess I got to stay in office now, don't I? And people definitely need, material help. There's no doubt about that. So is that something that sort of softens the blow of the total destruction of democracy? In the eyes of many people, it certainly would. It shouldn't, but it certainly would. So that's the horrendous part, is that he's, again, threatening a coup, even though I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off, and it's already over, and, the machinery of our country is sort of in gear, and it is going to dispel with him at the proper time. But it is like, the fact that the intent is there is unsettling. That's how I feel about that. Now, let's get to the other parts, though, because this is interesting. So he says, Democrats blocked COVID relief through the summer. And, it was like a political ploy on their part. That's what Trump's saying. That's half true, half not true. So it's not true because Democrats passed the HEROES Act, which included increased stimulus checks. It included $1,200 stimulus checks, among many other things. So the Democrats had passed another stimulus bill, but Mitch McConnell was blocking it in the Senate. So the Democrats always had that argument to fall back on, which is like, listen, if you really want the stimulus, we do too. We already passed it. It's on you now. So that's one point. Also, you have various Democrats like Ro Khanna and Tim Ryan, among others, file legislation to pay $2,000 per month to everybody through the remainder of the crisis. Those bills went nowhere. The part that... So he's wrong in that sense, but he's correct in this sense. It is true that Trump and Mnuchin had a $1.8 trillion deal on the table, and Pelosi rejected it. And in that deal, there were $1,200 stimulus checks as well, among other things. And so there was a better deal, a better stimulus deal on the table before the election. And Pelosi rejected it. And now, if Pelosi had accepted it, McConnell still would have rejected it. So it's not true that you just blame the Democrats there. But is there some degree of blame for the Democrats? Yes. The only Democrat who said take that deal is Ro Khanna. And then myself and some other hosts and journalists were like, you should take that deal because it ain't going to get any better than that. Well, we were proven right, of course, because now after the election, you have a worse deal on the table, and that's the deal that everybody agreed to. Which gets to now the main point. Trump is actually correct when he says there's a lot of bullshit attached to this deal. 100% true. In fact, I was looking over them last night. $33 million for democracy promotion in Venezuela, which is just a fancy way of saying $33 million to overthrow the Venezuelan government. At least $500 million for Israel. The list goes on and on. Oh, $4.4 million for former U.S. presidents. Why? I don't know. Why is it in there? I have no idea. This is what they do. This is the dirty, gross way that the sausage is made in Washington, D.C. It's like, let's have this process where there's a certain part of the process where you just throw all the bullshit in there. And that's what happened. So Trump is calling out all that stuff and saying, listen, man, this shouldn't be attached to this bill. You got to get rid of this stuff. But then he says, I want $2,000 instead of $600. Now, is that a good thing? Absolutely. Of course that's a good thing. But should you question Trump's intentions on this front? Yes, because here's the deal. I think they have the votes to override his veto. And he would know that they have the votes to override his veto. So this is on his way out the door, an attempt for him to virtue signal, to be like, I was in favor of the higher payments, so don't blame me. I was doing right by the American people. It's these goddamn Democrats who were doing wrong by the American people. And he could even say, even the other Republicans, I was the only one. I alone, Donald Trump, was standing up for the American people. Now, if Trump interjected himself in these negotiations earlier on and said, I want $2,000, then he might have been able to get it. But now I think they have a veto-proof majority, and so he's not going to get that $2,000. But interestingly enough, Pelosi and the Democrats did the right thing here, because Pelosi immediately responded on Twitter and said, I'm totally down for that. Let's do it. Here, we're adding $2,000 right now. We're going to see, but there is a little bit of an asterisk there because she wants to do it through unanimous consent. Unanimous consent means any congressperson can block it. And so you could have like Thomas Massey, who's a hardcore libertarian who doesn't believe in like any government spending. He could block it alone and be like, I don't believe in this. So there's a way to do it where you're not opening up the door for them to block it. If you propose a new bill or propose a new bill that has an amendment to the previous legislation that says change $600 for $2,000, you could do it and you don't have to worry about the objections, but she wanted to do it through unanimous consent, which means she's opening up the door for it to get struck down, which means is she really for it? I don't know. But there were many Democrats who had the $2,000 number down and proposed. So, but see, this is interesting. Now you see how big of a cuck is Trump, because previously we were saying he's a massive cuck because his staff convinced him to back down from the $2,000. Well, now obviously he changed his mind. But how much of a fight are you willing to take on, Don? And are you willing to say, yes, it's me and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats versus Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans? Because the Grim Reaper is really the only one who would fundamentally be blocking this. So how much of a public pressure campaign are you willing to put on Mitch McConnell, Don? And again, this gets back to an older conversation we had. Remember this? Like 2 or 3 shows ago, I did a segment where I was talking about how Mitch McConnell pissed off Trump because Mitch McConnell basically acknowledged Biden's victory, acknowledged that he's president-elect. Trump didn't like that. And so the theory at the time was maybe Trump will tank the Georgia elections just to say, fuck you to Mitch McConnell. No, I'm not going to help you campaign there. Why would I help you campaign there? You just threw me under the bus, and I'm going to throw you under the bus because Mitch McConnell wants to win those elections so that the Republicans control the Senate. So that was the theory at the time. Hey, how's he gonna get McConnell back? He's going to throw the Georgia election. He's not going to help Perdue and Loeffler, however you pronounce it. Well, he didn't do that. He's still saying, Georgia Republicans need to win, vote for them. But now he's putting Mitch McConnell in a tough position because it would be Trump and Pelosi and all the Democrats up against McConnell and the Senate Republicans, where Trump is with the Democrats saying, yeah, $2,000 payments, let's do it. So what are you going to do next? Are you going to do a tweet thread against Mitch McConnell? But see, that's the thing. Trump, in many ways, I don't even think he understood his real power because he controls that Republican base like nobody's business. Donald Trump can ruin Mitch McConnell's career with one tweet thread. One tweet thread. Then he's a rhino, then he's not MAGA, then he's unacceptable. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. So, are you really going to take this fight on, Don? Are you going to call out Mitch McConnell directly? Are you going to say, myself and Nancy Pelosi are in agreement, $2,000 checks, low energy Mitch, old man Mitch, good for nothing Mitch McConnell is blocking this. I think it's time that everybody shows him who's the boss. What are you going to do, Don? Are you going to do that? You should do that. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's wait and see. But he should have done this earlier. If he did this earlier, we might actually have 2,000 in the bill. He didn't. He waited till this last second. It's probably the case that there's a veto-proof majority. But listen, if we end up actually getting the $2,000 in there because Trump puts enough pressure on McConnell, that'd be amazing. By the way, another possibility is that, what is it, about 28 days or something until the Biden administration goes in? McConnell might just be like, no, I like this bill. We're going to keep this bill. Sure, we'll wait 28 days, and then Biden will sign the bill. And Biden will sign the bill. And we'll get to this story later, but Biden had a hand in reducing the Democratic demands. And then there were a bunch of articles that framed this as a success of Biden's moderation. That's not a success. This stimulus package is nowhere near big enough. You can't brag about the fact that you cut it. Who takes credit for something like that? Let me take credit for the thing that people hate. This is the Democrats. This is the corporate Democrats. Whereas Trump at least has the political instincts, just like he has the political instincts every now and then to be like, war's bad. He has the political instincts to be like, I'd rather you have $2,000 than $600. And again, pressure on Loeffler and Perdue. Because John Ossoff immediately came out and was like, yeah, 2,000 right now. Let's do it. So Trump, tripping over his dick, trying to get a positive thing in the news about him on his way out, is bolstering the Democratic arguments, and now there's pressure on Republicans. And you see, they don't know how to handle this. Lindsey Graham did a tweet thread As soon as Trump said this, and he's like, the idea is a good idea, and I think it's good, and what we should have is maybe if you other things that Trump believes in too are good, so like if you do the thing where you go after big tech, but also I'm down for the $2,000 checks, kind of. So anyway, that what happened was the sun was in my eyes, and Fred and them was down by the Safeway, and then So they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to respond because they know Trump, even though he lost the election, he still has the heart of the Republican base. He's their daddy. He owns them. He could make their political careers or break their political careers. So anyway, interesting dynamic. I'm curious to see how this unfolds. I don't know how this unfolds, but we'll see. So needless to say, Trump wanting 2,000 instead of 600 is good, even though Trump should have done the 2,000 earlier. Trump threatening a coup again is bad, even though I don't think he has the ability to pull it off. But what a strange political moment, man. We've never seen anything like this.